Hello, Nadia. Today, I am interested in hearing about something that you did this month, which we haven't gotten to talk about yet.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
want, who's going to say it first?
Well, I'll say it since I said I wanted to talk about it. I would like to talk about your experience getting your IUD. Do you know what IUD stands for?
Something like intrauterine device, something of the sort. But I'm not sure if that's correct.
I think that's pretty correct. I'm glad you know what it is. Actually, that does say a lot about like healthcare, right? Oftentimes people just move forward and get things done, but don't know that much about it, right? But at the same time, like how are we expected to know all the things about it?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be the expert, but you should at least know if there's an abbreviation for the thing that you're getting, that you know what the abbreviation stands for.
Yeah, I agree.
So intrauterine device, gonna go in your uterus, or it
Mhm.
went in your uterus,
Yes. Which means,
right?
yes, it goes into my uterus, which means I feel like some people don't know that you could still use tampon.
Why did you decide to get an IUD?
Well, I wanted to start a form of birth control, but I'm really bad at taking pills and to not want to have to go in to the doctor's office every 3 months for a depot shot, which is another option. And obviously there's a lot of other options too that you learn about, but this felt like the most you kind of get it in and you don't really have to worry about it afterwards until you have to get it out. So for me, that's made the most sense. And yeah, I brought it. I saw a doctor at school about it. And then she referred me somewhere else in Boston because they can't do it at school, obviously, at the health center. And I also talked about it with my doctor at home. And she also thought it was a good idea. But yeah,
Wait, pause for a moment. Why can't they do it at the health center at school?
well, I think if they don't do like procedures like that. So they referred me to an outside OBGYN clinic that was pretty close to school. I had a bunch of options, but I chose, obviously, I looked at the reviews of all the places and chose the one that was the had the best reviews. And actually, I had this appointment I scheduled it at the health center back in March or April, and they didn't have availability that corresponded with the times I was in Boston until the end of August. So, but I wasn't really in a rush. I kind of just wanted to get it now. And also, actually, when I first brought it up to you, I had said that I wanted it, and it was right after the election. And I think there's just a lot of things going around that's like, oh, you should just get your birth control now before the president takes it away, XYZ. Obviously, that's not necessarily the case and probably wouldn't be the case in Boston or in California, but that's what kind of sparked it. And then, yeah, so I had to wait until the end of August to get it. And yeah, so I talked to a few people about it, and I have some friends that have it too, have an IUD, have had it for a while or just gotten it and have had good experiences for the most part. So all signs point to it being a good option. And then when I actually went into my appointment to get it in, because I had never met the doctor before, she kind of re-explained it and helped me choose which one I wanted, because there's I guess you can call it 3 different types. I think there's more, but there's a hormonal and non-hormonal ones. And for the hormonal ones, there's different options within that. So she was helping me choose between all the different options, and I ended up getting the Kylena, I think. Whichever one is 5 years, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I think, yeah, I know it was the Kylena. I just can't remember if it was 5 or 7 years waiting. You have to get it replaced. And mostly because it seemed like the least commitment, I had to get it out in 5 years, whereas the other ones you can keep it in for 8, which is kind of seems like a really long time in terms of I don't know. This was a spur of the moment decision during my conversation with her. I thought I wanted to get the Moreno one, but it's only because I'd only really heard about that one. And then my friends had gotten the other one. So anyways, I was going back and forth, and she helped me decide, and then I got it during that appointment. But it's kind of crazy because a lot of my friends that do have it also had to wait really, really long time to get these appointments. And I mean, it makes sense because like OBGYN doctors have a lot of other more important patients to see. So they don't have a lot of open spots. I know the doctor that I saw is only in Tuesdays and Fridays. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of her schedule is like, but so limited availability, have to wait a really long time. So wouldn't be a good birth control option for someone that needed, like, I don't know, it right away. Although it depends on when you get it in, can it work right away? But whatever. Besides the point, I got it. And yeah, that was 2 weeks ago, about a little over 2 weeks ago.
So how was the experience of having the IUD placed? Which, by the way, I actually didn't know all the different options of IUDs, but I do know that my sister had a copper one and I had Mirena, and I didn't know there was a Skyla and a Kylena until just now when I looked it up. And it looks like the Kylena is supposed to be in for 5 years and Skyla for 3 years or something like that, and Mirena can be up to 8 years. But when I first got the Mirena, I don't know if it was different before, but when I first got it, I was told that it should be for 8 years. I mean, sorry, for 5 years. And then the second time I got it, they said 7 years. Yeah. And
I think they say like 5 to 8 years now.
and basically, I had you and then was nursing. Then I had your sister soon after, then was nursing. So periods were kind of like a little bit different during those times. And then I got the Mirena after when she was about a year old or so. And so basically and then I had Mirena twice. So I didn't have my period because I was on an IUD. I didn't have a normal period for about 16 years or something like that.
You kind of like got your period back when Lucy got her period. I remember.
Oh, that's funny. That's so
Or,
weird
like,
to notice.
Like when I got my period, you still didn't have, like you were still on your ID. Anyways, I like growing up knew that you didn't get your period a lot. It would only like when you started getting it. I guess it's because it's kind of a thing of like, oh, I'm on my period. And when you're on your period, you like to mention it. Like, I mean, anyone. So it's like, you never mentioned it until I got older.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So you were like all on your own, the only female in the household with their period.
Oh, I mean, I guess a little bit, but not really. No, I didn't think of it in that sense. I just knew that you didn't have it.
But yeah, tell me about how it was to get it.
Yeah. I think, okay, it helped out a lot. I had a lot of friends that had gotten it who can like give me advice, whatever, XYZ. But for the most part, from what I remember from my conversation with friends, is that they had a pretty good experience. Wasn't that bad, really hurt that much. Love it and tell everyone now to get it. And then like a couple days before, I was a little bit nervous. So I like went on TikTok, which is like literally the worst idea I ever decided to have because the people that get on TikTok to talk about their IUDs have like the like horror stories. Like it was the worst pain I've ever experienced. It was horrible. Like I was in so much pain, whatever. So then I got more nervous and I didn't really know, like it was hard to have my friends be like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. And then go on and it being like, it was pretty bad. And I wouldn't do it ever again. So there was that. But I decided to not succumb to TikTok and just stop looking it up. So I stopped looking it up. And yeah, and then I went in for the procedure and it was worse than I thought it was gonna be. I think I think I had a overall good experience, but it hurt a lot more than I thought it was going to be. But also I'd never really experienced pain like that. It wasn't really like I'm getting hurt pain, like it's like period cramp pain, but in a very vulnerable position. Like your legs are literally open on a table. And it's it was a very weird experience for me. And I don't think anything that I could have looked up would have prepared me for it or anything that anybody said. Like it would just have to be an in the moment type thing. And I got a pap smear in July and I had a pretty easy experience and I didn't feel any pain when that was happening. So I kind of went based off that. This obviously lasted like 5 to 10 minutes longer and did hurt. So I was like, whatever. But I left kind of being like, wow, that was pretty uncomfortable. But I didn't like faint or anything like that. Like it wasn't bad in that sense. And then like a couple hours later, I was like, oh, I'm totally fine. But from the moment that I got it until still now, like I still get cramps. And obviously it was way worse right after. But like I would say like a week later, I was thinking about it and I couldn't even remember the pain that I had experienced during it because like basically just saying that I felt like it was worth it. Like the pain didn't last, thankfully, that long for me, like the pain that I felt while I was going in. But I do get cramps. I still get cramps. And my period came early and all these hormonal things, which is very like, which makes sense, obviously. And I'd never been on birth control before. I just kind of get used to it. But yeah, so every day from 2 to 5, for some reason, I feel like I get cramps. And I had another friend that got one recently too, and my roommate, and she also gets cramps between 2 to 5 p.m. And I don't really know if it's just because it's the afternoon, but I like honestly forget that I got the procedure until my cramps come. And the fact that I'm kind of like on a light period every.
So you say that you're glad that you got it. What makes you glad about it?
Well, not that like it's not like I have been in a situation of last 2 weeks where I was like, oh, thank goodness I have it. No, like not in that sense, but more in the sense that I'm glad that I did it and I don't have to think about it anymore for like future and also like for 5 years, which is a pretty long time. I feel like in my sense of timing, 5 years is a long time. And
Well, what does that mean for you? Does that mean now that you feel like, okay, I'm trying to get into your head a little bit. Like, okay, this is like a little bit like trigger warning, right? Like, do you have this resting sense that someone could assault you at any time and you could get pregnant and you want to prevent that? Or do you feel like there are situations where penetrative intercourse would happen without a condom first, and so you're not sure what might be happening, if there might be like an accidental pregnancy because of that? Or like now you feel glad because you can be like sometimes a little bit irresponsible. And when you're a little pussy, you can just like not use a condom. Like I'm just like trying to get in your head that way.
so TMI.
I guess it is.
You. But I mean, not weird to talk about it with you, but weird to hear it come out of your mouth. Not necessarily like any of those. I wouldn't be the type of person to not use protection anyways. And also, I'm not, thankfully, not always on edge that I'm going to be like in a situation where I'm out of control. But I guess in a broader sense, it does give me control like over any situation. And I mean, like, for the reason that most people don't go on birth control is because they don't want to get pregnant. And I feel like in the next 5 years, that will be the case. Like, I don't know. It's more kind of long term. And also after the election, like, felt like I had to get it right then and there and just wanted to move forward with that before, like, it became like, I don't know, it was convenient. And now that I have it in, I just like, I'm glad I don't have to think about it for the next 5 years. So not necessarily like any of the 3 situations that you said, but more so feels a little bit like a checkbox and peace of mind all at the same time. Yeah, I don't know.
You've said twice now that after the election happened, you felt like you had to get it done. It's like so interesting and sucky, but also interesting that you feel like your access to things and that your healthcare or that like something in your life is definitely like affected by the fact who's in office.
Yeah.
Because I didn't ever actually feel that growing up until recently. So like
that. I mean, I guess necessarily, I wouldn't have necessarily thought of it on my own. Like, there are people talking about it online, and that like can generate like fear and all that. But I don't know. The thing I feel with like our current president is that like nothing is really like too crazy to think about. Like, you kind of think that like things would never happen, and like people just suggest are like, oh, be careful, he might do this, XYZ. Then you think like, oh, it could never happen, but sometimes it does. So just better to like take control over my body and all that type of stuff. And not before, but like in case I'm ever in a situation where it would have been helpful and puts me at risk. But yeah,
Did they tell you
yeah.
did they tell you when it would start being effective?
Well, she said like I got it at a weird time during my period. Like I wasn't on my period. So I think she explained it, but obviously I kind of forget. But she was like, sometimes it can work right away, but you're also not allowed to use tampons and things like that after you get your IUD in for like the next 2 days. Or 2 days is what she told me. I'm sure other doctors have other recommendations, but anyways, yeah. So I don't know exactly the dates, but I didn't necessarily get it. So it could be effective like immediately. So wasn't really fully paying attention because it wasn't like applicable for me
Did I
specifically.
did I tell you about my experience getting one in?
No, you didn't.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. Okay, first of all, it was a male practitioner. And I went in because I had a break from school. So I went to school in San Francisco, right? And I had maybe like 3 hours off or something. So I left San Francisco and went 30 minutes back to like where my OB-GYN office is, and then 30 minutes back by car. And so I'm like squeezing this in, right? And so I get it and it's not comfortable. And I know what you mean. Like it's like very vulnerable, uncomfortable in a weird, like this shouldn't be happening way. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how it's hard to explain, but it's like there shouldn't be sensation there. You know what I mean? Like or like that.
Yeah.
So then I was uncomfortable and I asked him after the procedure, when is it possible to have intercourse again? And he said, I don't know if it sounds like I'm making this up. He said, well, whenever he wants to.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Crazy.
Look that up because it sounds crazy right now. But I've said this same story many times since that time that it happened. So I changed the story along the way, but when I think about it now, I'm like, that is so crazy.
Yeah. Crazy.
Can I drive home? I mean, can I drive back to school? And he said, yep, no, it shouldn't be a problem. But I realized actually while I was driving, I was like, oh, I had a little bit of like a response. Like I felt a little bit dizzy, and I was like, I don't know if I should be driving. But then I'm like squeezing it in between my like grad school. If I don't go back, it's going to be a big old thing or whatever. I have a carpool waiting. And that was not that safe. So those like two not super great, like pain, first of all, which is like, it wasn't that bad. It was definitely worth it. It wasn't enough that I got a second one because it was so convenient to not have to worry about a pill. But like, so physical discomfort, like confusion, annoyance, anger, awkwardness, feeling weird about his answer. So weird. And then finally, like a little bit of danger because I was driving on the freeway right after the procedure.
I did also feel a little bit dizzy, but I think I felt a little lightheaded after, but also because you're laying all the way back. And also I was like deep breathing throughout the whole thing and I closed my eyes because I thought that would help. But I can't see anything, so I don't really know what closing my eyes would do. But and then afterwards she had asked me if like, do you want to stay laying down or do you want to sit up? And I said, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'll just sit up. But I think like for a little bit after that, I was a little bit lightheaded. But like combination of pain plus laying down and getting up right away. But yeah, I could see how driving might not be, might be fine. I think I would have been fine too. But I was like in a little bit of pain. So I probably wouldn't have been like giving it my full attention, which is also not super safe. But yeah, I'm glad I wouldn't have chosen a physician that was a male because I just wouldn't have felt as comfortable. There was also, I don't know if maybe she was a medical assistant, but there was someone there also to like help her. I don't know if they asked me if that was okay, but I was cool. And I don't even know if she was like looking or just like passing things to her. But yeah.
And how are you going to remember when to replace it?
well, I put it in my period app. It's a reminder for 5 years, I guess.
You should send yourself an email. Schedule it for 5 years from now. Go, "Hey,
I was
Nadia,
just thinking that because
how's
I
it
was like,
been?"
what if I changed what if, I mean, 5 years is a really long time, but also not really gonna forget this. So,
I don't know, life happens, and 5 years from now, especially if you're in medical school, like, you might like, time might just be a blur. I didn't remember that I was supposed to replace it, and actually, weirdly, I randomly started losing weight. And I was like, there's no reason for me to be losing weight. And then it made me start to think about the IUD, like, oh, maybe like the hormones from the IUD are different now. And that is also possibly not true because the second time around when I got the IUD removed, there was no weight difference. So I don't know. But that is what happened is that I was like assessing my health because I was like, why did I lose weight? And then I was thinking about all the possible contributing factors. And I was like, oh, when did I get that IUD in? And I realized that I didn't have a reminder set. You should set a reminder.
yeah. Well, anyways, apart from a reminder in 5 years, I have an appointment scheduled to get my strings checked, but it's low-key super on a super inconvenient day. And I definitely will have work, and she only is in on the days that I work.
Sure.
But she did say that if everything is fine, then and you can feel the strings yourself, then it's fine. But I don't really don't really want to have to try to find the strings myself. And I also don't really want to go into the doctor. So I don't really know. But it's only been 2 weeks, and you have to go after like 6 to 8 weeks. So
Probably do that. I did have a friend that had to get it removed. I mean, you said you went onto TikTok. I've definitely heard people that have had to have procedures to get them removed, that have had a lot of pain and intercourse was uncomfortable because it was like there. So anyway, there are all the things. So you might as well get, if the recommendation is to get the strings checked, you should probably get it checked.
well, she said that if it's fine by then I don't have to. Like, she was like, you can book it, but you don't have to. And I just booked it anyways, but I had to book it on Halloween. So that's rushing it. But yeah, so this is currently in my period of cramps during the day. So super awesome.
Interesting. We should find out why. 2 to 5 p.m. cramps.
So it's like after.
2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What?
Eastern Time.
But yeah. So, and I guess we didn't really get into this, and we don't have to. But my acne was really bad after. And now, because I don't really have acne flare-ups anymore, but also I'm 21, and sometimes, like, it was bad before I got it into, so, like, there's, like, the second puberty that happens occasionally, but
Maybe we can talk about that next time. All right, Nadia. Well, thank you for sharing your experience.
So glad I got to share it with everybody ever on the internet.
Should we not post them?
Would tell anyone anyway, so.
All right. Well, hopefully it's helpful for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.